Yeah, we back now. Not wasting no time. I'm giving you the warning right now. Today's video is going to be a very serious topic, and we're going to be discussing something that I don't think we really ever dive deep into. We're going to be talking about the white savior hustle, the white savior complex, right? So not wasting no time. In today's video, I'm going to be diving into a bunch of different news stories, and we're going to really dissect and really analyze this phenomenon. Now, the main event of this video is going to be a news story that came out of Liberia sometime last month regarding a U.S. missionary. I believe he was from the state of Louisiana by the name of Lucas Richards, right? Christian missionary. He went over to Africa, right? You know, doing what they do. And I'm going to dive into his story at the end of the video. But before we jump into the main event, I'm going to jump into different stories that all tie together, and you'll notice a pattern. You'll notice a common method of behavior. And I believe that the reason why these things happen at such a frequent pace is because we never actually sit down and discuss these topics. Now, I'm gonna jump into a topic that came out of Philadelphia sometime last week. Take a look up on the screen. As you can see, a Philadelphia journalist by the name of Josh Kruger was shot dead by a teenager that he was trying to help, according to police, right? Now, when this story came out, it's crazy because this happened in Philadelphia, but this was the exact situation that happens in third world countries, right? When you see these missionaries go overseas, because I believe this guy, Josh Kruger, he was involved in some government organization where, you know, we're coming to help with the homeless and the vulnerable communities and the black neighborhoods. You know, I'm the white man coming to help the blacks and things like that. And we're going to discover what his true motives were and the reason why he ended up losing his life. Let's jump into the article. The family of Robert Davis, 19, that's the black kid, who was accused of assassinating a local journalist by the name of Josh Kruger, said that Davis was just 15 years old when he and Kruger began a years-long relationship involving drugs, and that Davis told them that Kruger was threatening to post sexually explicit videos of him on the internet, police say. Davis then shot Kruger dead. Kruger, 39, was killed after a man entered his Point Breeze home in the middle of the night, police said, and shot him 7 times at the base of the stairs. Surveillance video near the scene and tips from Kruger's friends and family led detectives to Robert Davis, and a warrant was issued for his arrest a few days later. Police described the pair as acquaintances and said Kruger was trying to help Davis get through life. Now, this is why I titled the video, The White Savior Hustle. Let's continue. The family's contentions come as detectives separately discovered and are investigating what multiple law enforcement sources have called explicit photos and messages in Kruger's phone. The sources, who requested anonymity to discuss the ongoing investigation, did not say whether the images or messages were connected to Davis, but said they were disturbing and have been turned over to the department's Special Victims Unit for further analysis. Damika Davis said her son called her on Friday, just hours after Philly police burst into her South Philadelphia home looking for him. She urged him to turn himself in. But before the call ended, he frantically tried to explain himself, though he stopped short of admitting the crime. He was scared, she said. He wanted to do some stuff that I didn't want to do, and if I didn't do it, he said he was going to blackmail me. Damika Davis and her son, Jalen Reason, said in an interview that Davis, when he was about 15 years old, began sneaking out in the middle of the night and coming home high on drugs. They said Davis told him that he was seeing an older white woman that he met online who worked for the government. They frequently saw the name Josh pop up in his messages on his phone. And when they asked him who Josh was, Davis told them that it was the woman's brother who was gay. It was only later in their call with him on Friday that Davis told him that he had been seeing Kruger all along. Kruger worked for the city, including the Office of Homeless Services, from 2015 to 2020. That's why I call it, man, the white savior hustle. Let's continue. Which lines up with when they said Davis initially told them that he started seeing the woman who worked for the government. And they followed Davis to Kruger's block on Watkins Street before, desperate to find out where he was going and getting drugs. They trailed behind him and watched as he turned onto Watkins Street, but they couldn't figure out which house he was going into. Davis sometimes returned home with expensive gifts such as designer belts and Gucci pants. Man, that shit, yo, bro. Man, that's disgusting. Man, that's disgusting. But anyways, let's continue. He would tell his family the woman had bought them for him. He'd sometimes stay out until early morning and return under the influence of drugs. They found needles, pills, and other drug paraphernalia in his pockets and believe he became addicted to meth. Man, listen, man. Buckle up your seatbelts, man. We're going to dive into a number of news stories. And we're going to dive into the white savior hustle, man. We got to talk about the white savior hustle. And then I'm going to analyze why our people fall victim so easily and so frequently to the white savior hustle towards the end of the video. But anyways, let's jump into the next news story. As you already know, I dropped a video sometime last week. I believe it was entitled, "The United States is ready to spend $100 million to invade Haiti." Right? So I believe the United States wants to sponsor a multinational military intervention force to quote unquote stabilize Haiti. But as we already know, like I said, nations are not in the business of doing charity. Okay, nations are in the business of protecting their economic interests. So, like I said, this is not charity. It's never charity. But anyways, take a look up on the screen, right? As you can see, Canada, which is one of the countries that will be contributing to the multinational force if it's deployed, Canada is focused on preventing sexual violence in Haiti as a military intervention looms. Now, brothers, the white saviors are such degenerates that they have to have special classes. They have to hold seminars and conferences to tell these men, listen, if we send you to this country, please do not assault the black women and the black children, and please keep your hands to yourself. Keep your dick in your pants. They have to literally have seminars teaching these white dudes that yo, bro, please don't assault the civilians. That's how bad it is with the white saviors, bro. Now let's continue. Global Affairs Canada says Canada is likely to deploy officers to Haiti to act as trainers in a multinational military intervention, with officials promising an added focus on preventing sexual violence. Now, the reason why they have to have these special conferences and special seminars teaching these guys to keep their hands to themselves is because they have a reputation of whenever, especially when they go to Haiti or any black country in general, whether it's on the African continent or wherever it's located, these guys, even though they were sent with specific instructions to carry out a task, to carry out a job, they get there and they start having orgy parties. They start having, sex parties and things like that. They were sent to complete a mission, and then they get over there and it's, we on vacation having sex Monday through Friday, sun up to sundown. That's what they do. That's how it goes down, bro. That's how it goes down. And we're gonna jump into a lot of different news stories today. Today we're gonna talk about the white savior hustle, bro. We gotta talk about it. Now let's jump into this old article. I believe it came out in 2019. It says this: Canadian law cannot punish peacekeepers for sexual misconduct abroad, and the UN is not happy about it. When the United Nations launched an investigation into the allegations that a Canadian peacekeeper had sexually assaulted a Haitian woman in 2013, the file landed on the desk of Rob Hodgson. Hodgson was an investigator with the UN mission in Haiti, looking into allegations of sexual exploitation by the UN employees, and it was one of his top priorities. According to the allegation, the peacekeeper had picked up a local sex worker. There had been a conflict between the two of them, during the course of which he actually threatened her with his UN-issued firearm. Hodgson said the woman fled from the vehicle the officer was in, which also belonged to the UN, but in the process, she managed to grab his badge, which is how he was identified as a Canadian peacekeeper. Hodgson said she ran to a nearby house asking for help. The residents called the police, who passed the information along to the UN. The ID badge led the investigators to an officer who had been recruited by the RCMP for the peacekeeping mission in Haiti. The officer was in the middle of his deployment at the time, but after Hodgson opened the investigation at the UN, the officer left Haiti without informing the RCMP or the UN. Now, I just want to say, when the article says that she was a local sex worker, keep in mind, that girl could have been 11 years old, and they would say, oh, she was a local sex worker, because in the eyes of these guys, that's what they view the women as. It could be a regular civilian, but they view her as a sex worker, right? So you got to you got to take that with a grain of salt when they say that. You don't even know if this woman is even 18 years old, but they're going to throw the label of sex worker upon her. But anyways, let's jump into the next article. Take a look up on the screen. 6 Canadian peacekeepers deployed to Haiti have been accused of sexual misconduct with the locals, and there's nothing that we can do about it. This article also came out back in 2019. Now, let's jump into the next article. Take a look up on the screen. UN peacekeepers have been said to fathered hundreds of children in Haiti. And similar to what I said earlier, the women that they fathered children with, many of them were children themselves. We gotta keep that in mind, Don't think that it was just women that were, 27 years old and they started a family together. No. Some of these women were like 12 years old, bro. Anyway, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. I did not even have breasts, said a girl known as victim number 1. She told UN investigators that over the next 3 years, from the ages of 12 to 15, she had sex with nearly 50 UN peacekeepers, including a commander who gave her 75 cents. Sometimes she slept in a UN truck on the base. Justice for victims like victim number 1 is rare. An Associated Press investigation of the UN missions during the past 12 years found nearly 2,000 allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation by UN peacekeepers and other personnel around the world, signaling the crisis is much larger than previously known. More than 300 of the allegations involve children, but only a fraction of the perpetrators serve jail time. Now, let's jump into the next news story. Take a look up on the screen. As you can see, Oxfam is a British-founded confederation of 21 independent charitable organizations focusing on the alleviation of global poverty, founded in 1942 and led by Oxfam International. Now, let's continue discussing the white savior hustle. Take a look up on the screen. Oxfam is accused of covering up an investigation into the hiring of sex workers. Sex workers. When they say sex workers, they really just mean local civilians, just local women, bruh, like local women. Okay, yeah, the hiring of sex workers for orgies by the staff working in Haiti after the earthquake, which killed thousands. So yes, the white saviors came to Haiti after the earthquake. You know, we got to come help the blacks. And then, you know, the white man, he was like, oh man, let's have orgy parties every day. We having orgy parties night and day. Oh my God. Just like that dude in Philadelphia. We're going to come save the blacks. I'm going to come help the homeless. And then I'm out here, you know, getting little 15-year-old boys hooked on meth. And oh, the white savior hustle. Let's continue. Now, let's jump into the next news story. Take a look up on the screen. A U.S. missionary, goddamn, man, those American missionaries, them U.S. missionaries, man, y'all the worst of the worst. The U.S. missionary sentenced for molesting 15 boys in Haiti. Josh Arbo took trips to Haiti to volunteer from 2008 until 2017. His trips to Haiti stopped in 2017 after someone saw him engaging in inappropriate sexual contact with a child. After being confronted, Arbo returned to the United States. Arbo stated that he received sexual gratification from the sexual acts he committed against the minors in Haiti, according to court documents. James Arbo was a wolf in sheep's clothing. He posed as a selfless missionary, when in reality, he was exploiting his position to prey on and sexually abuse vulnerable children in one of the most impoverished areas of the world, according to Assistant Attorney General Ben Kosk, according to the local media. Man, the white savior hustle, man. The white savior hustle. The white savior hustle. And like I said, towards the end of the video, we're going to discuss why our people fall victim to this on such a constant basis. But anyway, let's continue. Let's jump into the next news story. Take a look up on the screen. A Christian charity says its managers knew for years that one of their missionaries admitted to abusing children. A Christian nonprofit has stated that two managers knew for years that an employee had confessed to a history of sexual offenses against minors, but still allowed him to serve in their organization as a missionary to Haiti. Jeriah Mass, 38, from Ohio, was indicted in a Holmes County court on July 3rd with 7 felony charges of gross sexual imposition and 7 misdemeanor charges of sexual imposition. Now, if you take a look up on the screen, that's this guy right here, Jeriah Mass, who was over there, you know, touching on little boys and things like that. But let's continue. Mast also faces allegations of sexually abusing minors during his time serving Christian Aid Ministries in Haiti, according to the Berlin, Ohio-based nonprofit. It is already well known that our former employee, Jeriah Mast, has confessed to molesting boys while working for our organization in Haiti, according to the Christian Aid Ministries Board of Directors. Christian Aid Ministries said in the same letter that 2 managers at the organization had known about Mass' behavior since 2013, when he had admitted to Christian Aid Ministries staff to sexual activities with boys under the age of 18 that had taken place several years prior in Haiti. Now, let's jump into the next news story. Take a look up on the screen. Another U.S. citizen, another man who ran a missionary orphanage, man, the missionaries, man, the missionary orphanage in Haiti was charged with child sex tourism. This article came out back in 2017. Let's jump into it. A man with Texas roots who ran a missionary orphanage in Haiti has been arrested and charged with engaging in illicit sexual conduct with a minor. The arrest was announced in a news article from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement on Thursday. According to court documents, Daniel John Pye, 35, traveled from Florida to Haiti on multiple occasions from 2008 to 2011 for the purpose of allegedly sexually abusing minor female children. Man, I don't even know what to say, bro. I don't even know what to say. But anyways, let's continue. Now let's jump back into the main event. Let's talk about what happened to that African woman and her missionary husband. Now, we just ran into a bunch of news stories about Christian missionaries, UN peacekeepers, all type of shit, man. You know, the white saviors coming to help out the downtrodden blacks. But in reality, like I said, anyways, let's continue. Let's jump into the news story. As you can see, U.S. missionary Lucas Richards has been arrested for the attempted murder of his pregnant Liberian girlfriend, Jessica Lloyd. He went for missionary work and got her pregnant. He has a wife back home in America. He attempted to slit her throat and also injected her to cause a miscarriage. Now, before we jump into the article, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said, not to justify the act, but unfortunately, this happens in almost all missions. This person said, one of my former churches had a mission team that supported a children's home in Uganda. A member of that team was allowed to travel there solo, where he sexually assaulted many of the girls. Now, let's jump into the article. Take a look up on the screen. Liberian media outlets report that Lucas Richards, a missionary from Louisiana, attacked Jessica Lloyd, cutting her throat. They report that Richard is charged with attempted murder. Witnesses say Lloyd and Richard were in a relationship. American missionary tried to slit the throat of his Liberian wife after terminating pregnancy. An American missionary was arrested for attempted murder after he married, impregnated, and then tried to kill the Liberian woman that he called his second wife by slitting her throat and leaving her on the side of the road. Jessica Lloyd's family is further accusing the man, identified as Lucas Richards, of allegedly injecting the woman with unknown drugs that terminated her pregnancy. Jessica survived the ordeal and is now telling her side of the story, which Richard denies, saying that Lloyd was simply hit by a motorcycle after she insisted on getting a ride home herself. Initial reports from the country said that Lloyd was keeping her silence, but authorities managed to coax the story out of her. In his statement to police, Richard said that the victim had asked him for $150 to buy food at the local supermarket. After shopping, he dropped her along the roadside so she could catch a motorbike that would take her back home. From there, we decided that I would drop her off. She would get a motorbike while standing on the road. I saw a motorbike come from nowhere and hit her, he said. The victim vehemently denies this story and claims that the husband she traditionally married had attempted to kill her with a knife. Richard, a missionary of the Creekside Church, moved to Liberia with his American wife an unknown period of time ago. Lloyd was attending the mission where Richard worked. He told her that his wife was old and he wanted to marry Lloyd as a second wife. Before we could get out of the car, he took a big knife, saying that he was afraid of snakes and that in case he saw one, we would kill it. So we got out of the car. He put the knife in his pocket after we got to the riverside. The area was crowded, so we couldn't do anything, Lloyd said in her account of the events for authorities. Later on, we went to some kind of bush area. He said he wanted to urinate. After urinating, he said he saw some kind of animal in the bush, but the knife was in his pocket. So he called me to come see, but I told him that I was scared, so I just stood behind him. If I was going to get closer, he would have killed me right there, so I just stood behind him. When he finished urinating, I told him to wash his hands. Then we drove in front. He said he wanted to urinate again, so he said, "Stand behind me, Small." I stood behind him, but not too close. So when he finished, we got back into the car, went in the front, and passed by a cemetery. We went in front, and he said the car tire had a problem, and he wanted to change the tire. So I said, okay. I was sitting in the car at first, and then he said, "Oh, Jessica, I think you need to come help me." According to Lloyd, Richard brought out the metal tool used to loosen the bolts from the tire. Then he told her that she had dirt in her hair. So as he was cleaning it, I heard boop. I thought the car tire burst or the current jerked me. So I fell on the ground and started jerking. When I woke up, he pushed me back on the ground. That was when he took the knife and began cutting my neck. All right, man, we got to talk about it, bro. We got to talk about why it seems that our people fall victim to to these type of shenanigans so often. And it's something I go back to all the time. The reason why it's so easy for these individuals to do what they do is because, like I said before, we give these individuals the benefit of the doubt. Like I mentioned before on my channel, when it comes to white folks, We never generalize them by their worst, right? We only generalize them by their best and their brightest. We take Bill Gates and Mark Cuban. Oh, that's the white man right there. But we never generalize them by the average, everyday white man that we see these Christian missionaries going over doing what they do. And a lot of it can be blamed on media propaganda, but still, that's no excuse. That is no excuse, because as anyone who has studied history, at this point, it's no excuse. The fact of the matter is, as black people, we have a very one-sided relationship with other cultures. We are very open and accepting of other cultures. We welcome other folks with open arms. But when you examine the relationship on all levels, whether it's personal, collective, economic, political, it is very one-sided. And I'm going to break it down for you why I say that. Do you think any of the scenarios that I listed in the video today could have happened if the roles were reversed? Do you think that would have ever occurred if the roles were reversed? Just think about it for a second. Do you believe that a random man from, I don't know, Uganda, or a random black man from South Africa could come to a white country, and set up orphanages and set up, just go on a Christian missionary trip and just be welcomed by the people with open arms and have access to the children, have access to the women? And do you think that you would be accepted with open arms in the same way? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. You would not. Even when you examine the phenomenon of how men come from overseas to come to Africa to get a little African mistress, to get a little African wife. They got a wife back home, but they want a little African wife on the continent. Do you think that you would go to a foreign country? Do you think you could go to any of the countries in the Arab world, or any of the countries in Asia, and just come through and just, start setting up shop and be accepted and with open arms in the same way that we accept foreigners with open arms? No, you would not be accepted. But even in this story of the lady from Liberia, you see her family welcomed the white dude with open arms. They had a traditional wedding, just welcomed him in. A stranger, a random white guy from Louisiana, just, welcomed him in with open arms. Do you think a random black man from Ghana or a random black man from Nigeria could just go to a random white country and just set up shop like that? No, you would not be accepted with open arms, bruh. Even when you examine the different relationships, political, economic, geopolitical, do you think that African multinational corporations, do you think that Africans could set up military bases in white countries in the same way that foreign countries come into Africa and set up shop and influence the politics of the nation? Do you think that they would allow that to happen on their native soil? No, they would not. But we allow it to happen because we welcome foreigners with open arms. Not only do we welcome foreigners with open arms, we are hostile against each other, but we are welcoming towards foreigners. And that leaves us open to victimization on a consistent basis. Even when you take a look at the divestment movement, the so-called divestors, that right there is an example of what I mean by us as a people. We are so open to foreigners with open arms, and it's a one-sided relationship, because on the opposite end, do you see that there is a reciprocal energy to the divestor movement? When you see these women always uplifting and spreading the virtues of these other groups of men, do you see other groups of men doing the same thing, returning the same energy in return? No, they're sticking to their own women. They're sticking to their own folks. But us as a people, we always want to extend the olive branch, and we always want to sing the virtues and praises and integrate and assimilate with other groups of people. And then when somebody like me steps on the microphone and I say, no, I want to stick to my own folks. I want to do business among my own folks, and I only want to deal with my own women. People look at me like I'm a racist, like I'm a bigot, like, oh man, I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I'm just doing what I see everybody else doing. Everybody else is operating in a tribal fashion. Everybody else is maintaining the interests of their own folks. So why do people look at me crazy when I say I want to do the same exact thing? For example, let me give you an anecdotal story of what I mean when I say we welcome people with open arms that never accept us in the same way, right? Back in high school, right, on my varsity soccer team, I was friends with this Asian kid. He was South Korean, and he lived a few blocks away from me, and we went to the same school, the same high school, right? I went to private school, so I went to school like towns away. We rode the bus and shit like that, right? So this kid, he was South Korean, and he told me straight up, I remember we was in like the 11th grade or something like that, or the 10th grade. He told me straight up, bro, like, you the homie, but I could never bring you to the crib, or I could never have my parents or my grandparents, I can never let them see me, hanging out with you or things like that, because they don't like black people. Like, he straight up just told me, like, he kept it real, like, listen, bro, like, my family don't like black. So, whenever we get off the bus, you can't walk down my block and I cannot be seen with you. You gotta like stand on the corner and just like, I'll dap you up on the corner and I'll walk home from there by myself because I can't let my grandmother ever see me, dapping you up, seeing that I'm friends with a black person, right? So he kept it real with me. But on the opposite end, he could come to my crib. Like, my family don't got a problem with, South Koreans. He could come to my crib, my grandmother make food for him, things like that, like, it is what it is. That's the homie from the soccer team. They don't got no problem with you. But on the opposite end, he straight up told me, yo, bro, my folks don't like blacks. You know what I mean? So that goes to show it's a very one-sided affair that we got with these other cultures. And I don't have it personally, individually, because like I told you, I stick to my own folks. I stick to my own people. I'm not trying to assimilate and integrate and, ride the next man wave. So, unfortunately, it's a reality that we have to deal with. We are very open and welcoming to other groups of people that are not welcoming and open to us in the same fashion. And that leaves us open to victimization, because we have a bad habit of constantly giving people the benefit of the doubt that we never ever give to each other. The same benefit of the doubt that we would never give to a fellow black person, we always give it to somebody from a different culture, a different race, a different group. Now, I want to talk about the story in Philadelphia with that dude who was, volunteering, helping the homeless, but in reality, he was touching on little kids and shit like that. They said this guy, this dude right here, he was coming to help the homeless and the vulnerable communities, and they found out that he was over here touching on 15-year-old boys and getting them hooked on meth and things like that. I remember a while back I did a video where I said that if it came down to it, if I found out that any of my sisters was up in the strip club or selling their bodies, I remember one time I said I would just give them an allowance to spend just so they don't got to go to the streets, bro. I would just give them money to spend, like whatever you need, bro. I would just give you money until you get on your feet. And I remember somebody came into the comment section and he said, man, I would never give my sister an allowance to, things like that. But the reason why I said that is because I understand the reality of the situation, right? So when you see a lot of women out on the street, right, they hooked on meth, they hooked on crack, they hooked on all type of shit, right? A lot of their origin story was because they were selling their bodies and they ended up starting doing drugs with the dude they were selling their bodies with. And most times these women, they don't really do business with black men. A lot of them have a no black man policy, right? So they typically want to stick with the white clients or the Mexican clients or whatever different cultures, right? They want to stick to the other cultures. And a lot of these other cultures get them involved in these different activities, these drugs, and they get them hooked on all type of nonsense, bro. So that's part of the reason why I said if it came down to it, I would just give my sisters an allowance before I let them hit the streets and sell their bodies and get involved with all type of nefarious characters. That's just me. And we always talk about how a lot of folks in our community are not protected. Well, guess what? Protection starts with being tribal about your people. Protection starts with gatekeeping your people. Protection starts with not being so open to outsiders and foreigners, and stop being hostile to people that share your reflection. We got that bad. We are hostile to other people that share our reflection, but we are open to foreigners. We are open to outsiders, and that leaves us vulnerable to victimization on a consistent basis. And when you look at how this guy was able to get this child into his orbit at 15 years old, was because he was enticing him with Gucci belts and designer clothes, and he was probably giving him gifts and things like that. He was grooming him, right? So, like I said, if he had someone just like, if it came down to it, I would just give my sisters an allowance. Like if you need money that bad, if you're just trying to get material possessions, listen, you could do that. You don't got to go link up with some random white dude, smoking meth in the basement and shit like that. It's just, man, we're just so open to other groups of people in a way that they are not open to us, bro, on all levels, politically, interpersonal relationships, economically. It's a very lopsided relationship, bro. Very lopsided relationship on all levels. And whenever somebody like me comes around and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be so open to these other groups. Maybe we should stick amongst each other and strengthen and empower each other and protect each other. People look at me crazy. People look at me like, oh, you're a racist. You're a bigot. Oh, come on, bro. Like, just because I say we should just empower each other, stick to each other, stop being so open to outsiders. People look at me like I'm the racist. I'm the bigot. I'm the, they think I'm like, it's crazy, bro. And to give you one last anecdotal example of what I mean when I say we are very open to other cultures in the same way that they're not open to us. For example, when you go to the black community, you'll see all different type of cultures with businesses setting up shop, right? All different types of groups coming in, making a dollar, selling products, offering services to the black community, capturing the black dollar, right? Now, do you think that you as a business person could set up shop in a foreign community and be successful and capture their dollar, right? Set up shop, capture their dollar in the same way that they capture our dollar? No, because they circulate their dollar amongst each other way more than you do, right? Way more than you do. So you wouldn't even be able to capture the same amount of market share if you set up shop in their arena. But they could come set up shop in your arena and they could become multimillionaires. Because like I said, this tribalism extends to all relationships, politically, interpersonally, economically. That's that economic tribalism. And like I told you, my family is in the pharmaceutical business, and we have different pharmacy locations across New York State in different neighborhoods, different demographics. And in the demographics where it's in the white community, we have white pharmacy supervisors and white pharmacy techs that are in the location, right? Because we understand that people are going to be more comfortable doing business amongst their own folks. You know, the ownership could be black, but when they come into the shop, they see a familiar face, so they're more likely to, you know, spend that bread, right? Spend that bread. And also, we tend to acquire locations that have already been in business. So we tend to purchase pharmacies from people who are already selling. So they already have an established customer base. So even though the ownership might change, to them, it's like everything is still the same. But you notice other groups don't really have to put a black face on their business operation because they know we are open to other groups. We welcome them with open arms into our community, so they could come and set up shop, and they know that we're going to come and spend our money. But if they come into our business and see our face, they might not be ready to spend their money in the same way. In fact, I got an uncle down in Florida. He's not related to me by blood, but you know, like somebody who's close friends with your parents, you call him your uncle or your auntie or whatever. So I got an uncle down in Florida because he's seen how the business is moving for my father in such an amazing way. So he wants to get involved in the business as well because he's also a pharmacist as well. But he lives down in Florida. So I remember they had a conversation recently where they were talking about how he wants to open a location down in Florida, but he doesn't really have faith in the fact that if he opens a location down in Florida, as a black man, as the supervisor pharmacist, will he be able to capture the dollar of the, you know, as you already know, it's a lot of white conservatives down in Florida. Are they going to come and spend their money with a black man with an independent pharmacy, or are they going to want to go to the established, you know, Walgreens, CVS, or the established white-owned pharmacy that they've been accustomed to going to? Are they going to want to break bread with a black man? They had a conversation about that, you know. So like I said, other groups are not open to us in the same way that we are open to them, right? So it's something that we got to think about, man. I'm not going to make the video too long, but it's something that we got to think about. That's all I'm going to say. The reason why we are hostile against each other, but we are accepting of other groups, is because we don't value each other. And when you don't value each other, you're not going to empower each other and protect each other. And when you don't empower each other and protect each other, that leaves you vulnerable to the manipulations and the nefarious intentions of outsiders and foreigners who mean you no good. They mean you nothing but harm, but they can easily victimize you because you refuse to empower yourself and rally amongst yourself. The most powerful people in the world, you see, they stick to themselves. They're not really open and mingling and mixing with outside groups like that. They're not allowing outside groups to penetrate their inner circle like that. Their women aren't starting these one-sided divestment movements where they kissing the ass of other groups that don't even pay them any attention like that. So, you know, we really got to examine the mentality and the mindset that we pass down to our children, man. And we really got to examine these one-sided relationships that we engage in, you know, because it doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve our interests. But anyways, man, it's your boy Neferkari. That's the link. Cash App up on the screen. And I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage. I got business, this shit is an art. and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.